men providing is actually the bare minimum. And I don't say that to be, high maintenance or conceited or anything like that. Honestly, this video is not for 90% of people out there. This video is for the women who already know the value of their feminine energy, are learning that deeper, and are for relationships that want to reach that next level of masculine and feminine polarity, of like spiritual connection. So most people can click off of this video, to be quite honest. But if that is something that you want in your relationship, and of course still desire to be, the feminine woman in the relationship and be provided for, then this video will help you go deeper. So many, like all of the women that are on this channel that, come to me for coaching, or any of my community, any of my, like in the comments of my videos, they desire to be provided for. And this was me for a long time. I am provided for. But what I've realized is that she feels that she's finally raising her standard whenever she moves from 50-50, or maybe she's paying for everything in the relationship. There's like no polarity going on there. It's very neutral energy. And she believes that she's raising her standard by only dating men or marrying a man who provides for her. And she is. But what I noticed in my experience, my personal experience, and also so many women that I've worked with, or just observing other relationships, is that the providing is not what's going to satisfy the woman. It's not going to satisfy the feminine energy, especially for my girls out there who are more into spirituality and connectedness and, meditating and journaling and all of that. What she really wants and needs, truly needs, what the divine feminine needs in her life to truly reach that satisfaction of connection in her relationship, is divine masculine connection, polarity. Just because a man has the ability to pay for you or provide for you, if it stops there, you will never feel like it's enough, or you will never feel satisfied. And so this is kind of hard. This is hard I got this download, honestly, and it's really, really hard to articulate into words. So I'm going to do my best, because I really, really wanted to make a video on this. If you're on my email list, I sent out an email about this, but I don't think many women understand why they actually desire to be provided for. Like, we hear all of this advice, all of this information about feminine energy, masculine energy, being provided for, being the feminine in the relationship. We hear about polarity. I don't think a lot of people are truly achieving it. And that's scary to say, but even, most people don't even have this knowledge. So I know that most people are not achieving that polarity that they know, or that is a skill, because it really is a skill. It's an art that you have to learn to some degree, because we're not taught this, especially not in Western society. We're not taught this. This is not something that's like taught in school. You're never taught how to have a successful, attracted relationship, like a connected relationship. And what I think happens is that, what I know happens, because I've experienced myself, and I've seen this happen in so many other relationships, is that you have that natural polarity, that natural, some people want to call it chemistry or whatever, at the beginning. And I'm going to make a whole other video on this too, but you start spending so much time together that it basically neutralizes the polarity. So it's not really feminine and masculine anymore. Either both of you are more in your masculine energy or neutral, or both of you are more feminine leaning in your neutral. And that's like a friendship. But that's so different than having like that actual polarized attractiveness and connection and polarity with your husband or your partner, whoever, right? So why does the feminine actually desire to be provided for? The feminine thrives in being provided for by the masculine because she can finally feel safe in her nervous system inside of the relationship. What I've noticed is that the traits of men who really are accessing their divine masculine, not this like toxic, fake masculine alpha energy that all of these podcast men have, or like Andrew Tate sort of energy. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not, while it may seem masculine, it's not this like divine masculine spiritual present energy. It's not at all. It's like, I'm super disciplined and masculine and alpha in these areas of my life. I can make money, but there's not that respect for the feminine energy, truly. So this is for the women who want to be, you know, more than just provided for. I think it's really, really freaking easy to be provided for. There's an abundance of men out there who make money. That's great. There's an abundance of women out there who make money. But a trait that I find that's rare is someone who is willing to do the inner work, for women especially. Or for men, I would say, if you know anything about the differences between like the male or masculine spiritual path versus a feminine spiritual path, you'll know what I'm talking about more in depth here. But for men, like their spiritual path is this, it's like, it's discipline. It's restriction in a way. It's learning control. Whereas the feminine spiritual path is like basically the polar opposite, right? If we think about masculine and feminine, they're opposite. So the path for like the spiritual feminine energy is so much more about openness and about receiving and about not restricting and learning how to accept and open and grow, but not in like a growth, you know, self-improvement discipline way necessarily, but more in a like a blooming sort of way. So why the feminine actually desires this, like the divine feminine, right? Not, when I say feminine, I am not talking about 99% of the content you'll see out there about how to get into your feminine energy, what feminine energy is, how to get a man with it, right? We're going beyond basic here, and honestly, a lot of that is just incorrect. And the types of men that you'll be attracting with that information will be low consciousness, low level sort of men who are not in their divine masculine energy. Because when we do these feminine energy things as tactics and like, you're basically a pickup artist, you know what I'm saying? Like those men who are just trying to get a lot of women, like you're basically in the same category as that if you're taking this very performative feminine energy acting and you're not doing the inner work with it and you're not like connecting spiritually to the divine feminine. You're basically doing the same thing. So of course you're going to attract men who are doing that performative masculinity, right? So let me get back to it. I'm rambling a bit today, but this video is going to be a little bit more in depth, a little bit more channeled, a little bit more just of my downloads and like me bringing to you what I have really been journaling about. So if it's all over the place, I apologize, but I promise you this is life-changing information. So the feminine truly desires a man who will provide because he is so much more likely to be the type of man who is in his divine masculine energy. What I've found is that the men who are in that energy and who are like spiritually aware of their masculine and desire a feminine woman, they aren't going to make her provide. I've never seen that. especially amongst like entrepreneurs and those sort of men who are, it's kind of hard to be an entrepreneur and not be into leveling up or inner work or self-improvement, whatever masculine or feminine area you're in. And so these men are natural providers. I believe all men are natural providers, but these men in particular, like, they are aware of their masculine energy. They're also aware of why they desire the feminine energy. Anyone who is, more masculine leaning desires the feminine energy. And anyone who's more feminine leaning is going to desire the masculine energy. But if you don't know why and you're unaware and you're just going off of like, I want to be paid for because this is how I'm viewing myself, as raising my standard, because this is the only thing that I can like control, and this is all that I believe I deserve to have. That's actually big, and that's kind of hard to say in this scenario because so many women think that's like the creme de la creme is being provided for. And it's amazing, of course. Like, I'm so grateful that I'm provided for by my husband. But if that's all there was, I wouldn't be satisfied. And I'm willing to bet neither would you. And I'm also very aware that, we've gone through times where we're like less polarized, more polarized. And there's just there's no enjoyment in being in that neutral energy for me. Polarity is like priority to me. That's why feminine energy is my life, because most feminine women do prioritize relationship. And that's something that we've been so brainwashed into being ashamed, right? They tell us, make sure you put your career first and make sure you prioritize all of these masculine achievements. But I think naturally, when we get back into that divine feminine, we know that abundance is going to manifest in our lives anyways. And to be able to prioritize our own feminine energy should not just be a luxury, it should be default. So when I say go deeper than just providing, or just finding a man who will provide for you, if you just want that, then sure. Follow 99% of the feminine advice out there. It might work for you, it might not. Go for it, if it's working for you. But what I found when I did that is that it actually made my relationship worse. And luckily, since I'm very, very aware of this sort of stuff, and the way I'm doing it is kind of more like trial and error. If something doesn't work for me, I'm not going to keep doing it and like beating my head against the wall and continuing to ruin something. But when I've tried those more like manipulative, performative sort of things, divine masculine men don't respond to that. It's shallow, it's fake, it's not like, it's performative, it's results driven, it's almost masculine because you're doing it in order to get something. It's transactional. And so who are you going to attract with transactional tactics? Transactional men. And if all that you aspire to have in your relationship is just someone to pay for you, you probably would have an easier time just, I'm not going to say an easier time, but if that provides you with the lifestyle that you want, that's great. If you don't desire the connection, if you don't desire the polarity, if you don't desire that actual true connection with the divine masculine and all of the spiritual gifts and growth that gets to come with that, then go for it. But for me personally, it's not enough just to be provided for. And what I have really noticed, and this has come from a lot of inner work on myself, it's come from, I'm like looking at my journal over here because all of that information is in there. It's come from so much self-reflection and a recent like spiritual awakening, I guess you could say. But what I've noticed is that, I wrote it down here, connection is what we desire. And the reason so many people are not achieving this is not only because they don't know this information. They don't know about polarity. They don't study it, right? Like I literally study it. I find books to read about it. I take courses on it. I trial and error it in my relationship. I see what works and I repeat what works and then trash what doesn't. And the more, like the deeper I get into my feminine energy and allow myself to surrender into that, the more I realize that the reason most people are not getting here and are not willing to even go here and are not willing to desire more than just like basically gender roles, like providing and then, you know, whatever the man wants from that, right? Is because they are fearful of love. Like they fear connection, they fear love, they actually fear polarity. It takes a level of vulnerability, a deep level of vulnerability, to even surrender to accessing that polarity in your relationship. It takes, especially if you've been hurt before, like in other relationships or you had childhood trauma and your nervous system literally is not regulated, this is near impossible. I have spent years working on, you know, doing my inner work, journaling, meditating, regulating my nervous system, changing my diet to allow myself to have like the most relaxed nervous system that I can and access my feminine energy and, you know, regulate my hormones. It's more than just something you do every once in a while and hope that it pays off. It's like a spiritual workout. You have to do it multiple times a week, like daily, if it's your priority. And so many people have, myself included, right, have this fear of love, which is really an avoidance of life, like literally an avoidance of living itself. Because to live a life without that polarity and that connection, especially if you are in a relationship, is like avoidance of everything. Like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I guarantee you, if you are scared to experience this polarity and you're avoiding it, you're probably avoiding other things in your life too. And this manifests so deeply from like deep rooted trauma that has still not even been accessed for years. And it keeps basically ruling your life, like ruling your brain, ruling everything that you do, because you are scared to surrender to it, release it, and allow that sort of vulnerability in your own inner work. You can't do that in a relationship if you can't even do it with yourself. And so it's just avoidance of the vulnerability of actual spiritual connection. I know we're going deep here. Like, I don't know why I feel nervous going this deep in a video. Usually I do this on like podcasts or in my courses. But I also had the download this morning, like, sorry, scrap the podcast. Not really, kind of scrap it. Don't focus your energy there anymore and just put it into the freaking YouTube videos. So that's why I am doing this here. Otherwise I would have done it with like no video. That's usually how I'm most, like, it can all come through so much more easily whenever I do it with no video. So this is definitely something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone, and I hope it's making sense. But this is actually huge. Like, avoidance of love, avoidance of connection, not just in your relationship, but literal avoidance of connection with God, with the universe. If you're avoiding that connection, which if you have an unregulated nervous system, this just translates to you're not able to even be or access your feminine energy. And when you can't do that, you can't access polarity. And also when you can't access your feminine energy and it's something that feels very uncomfortable for you, something that feels scary, something that you fear and avoid because it does take a level of vulnerability, then you don't get to access your desires. What I see this manifest as in so many, like, oh my God, 99% of women, myself included, I'll notice this happen, is that she will start to really make her life about these masculine achievements. And this goes so deep. This is not just like, oh, well, you know, like I prioritize being feminine. I don't really desire career too much, or like, you know, it's fun to chase my goals or whatever, but I prioritize being feminine. I'm going to make a whole video on this, so I don't want to go too deep into it here. But it is so much deeper and more nuanced, and like so much more woven into how we've been brainwashed and societally just conditioned as women to completely suppress our feminine energy because it's so powerful. You can't be brainwashed, or you can't be brainwashed. You can't be influenced. You can't be taken advantage of. Do you know how much, like when you're in your feminine energy, do you know how much we are profited off of, especially as women? I mean, everyone, if they're not aware, but we are profited off of so much by not being in our feminine power. We're sold products that are supposed to fix all these things about us, our menstrual cycles. That's the first thing that came to mind, but like our bodies in general, our natural cycles, they're all demonized to some degree, and we're told that they're off, that they're wrong, that we can't fix them ourselves. And if you were truly in your divine feminine power, you wouldn't fall for any of that. You wouldn't fall for any of it. That's why we're conditioned this way. So getting back to the, you know, avoidance of love and fear and all of that, is that it's very sad. Like so many of the comments that I'll get, you know, I know I've been titling my videos more recently things that would like appeal more to the general public, if that makes sense. So I'm not surprised that I'm getting comments like this, but it's like there's such a deep, deep fear of being used by men, and like I'm trying to think of the most recent ones I've been getting. Don't even benefit your man, basically. Like this is the message that's going around, is like, don't even benefit your relationship. You know, only you should be benefiting off of the relationship. If he's benefiting at all, like you're being used. I mean, that is scarcity in all its glory right there. Like that's scarcity. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. I can't, like that's gonna kill the polarity. That's just using these fake feminine energy tactics to, like, of course you're going to be attracting men who are going to use you if you're using these tactics to attract a certain type of man. Divine masculine men don't fall for this. They're looking for an actual feminine woman so that you can come together and spiritually grow. I talk a lot about, you know, your feminine energy is like luxury to a man, like it's your feminine presence. But that doesn't mean that you need to turn that message into like it needs to be transactional and all I want is money and being provided for. Like at a certain level, it doesn't matter anymore. And whenever you're not getting that connection and you aren't accessing that polarity, like you're living a life of numbness. And you're living in this like void of life. So there's a book I've been reading recently, and I don't want to recommend it until I'm done with it, because honestly, we're only like, my husband's been reading it to me, and we're only about 30 pages in max. So far, so good. I don't want to recommend it yet. But basically it talks about, you know, life force energy. That's your sexual energy. And I'm not even going to go into how much that is completely distorted and perverted, especially in like the modern world and what most people are doing with it. And we would be here all day if I started on that rant. But sexual energy equals life. What's going to come to mind whenever I even say that word is the distorted and perverted version of how it's been warped in our mind, right? But if you know spiritually about sexual energy, you'll know that it is life force energy. And I mean, that's like the root of everything. That's how you work. That's how you came into this world, right? That's how your soul emerged into this world, is through sexual energy. You had to be born. And so what's so sad is that this goes even deeper of like fear of love, because sexual energy is love. Like, that's connected. I mean, I almost want to say it's the same thing, but I feel like I don't know enough yet to really say that with 100% confidence. So when you have that, you are scared to access that vulnerability around it, you're not going to feel pleasurably connected to your desires to manifest. You're not going to have that deep polarity and connection in your relationship. You're not even going to have that connection to life or like God or the universe or anything. You're going to be just like 99% of other people who are completely disconnected, spend hours scrolling on social media on their phone. I get these comments. How long is this video? 26 minutes. It's already about 20 minutes too long for the general population. And they will leave these comments like, can someone summarize this for me? I can't watch all of this. But I guarantee you those same people are scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on the little shorts like the Instagram reels or shorts on YouTube for 26 minutes, right? But they can't sit there. And this is all directly connected. I want to be able to explain it better, but it really is all directly connected. But they can't sit there and even listen to a video, someone talk for like 26 minutes. If they don't like it, that's fine. But if you literally don't have the attention span to sit there and listen to a 26-minute video, there's nothing more that needs to be said. You have an avoidance issue. And that avoidance issue always comes down to avoidance of life. It's not just fear. It's not just avoiding, like, this is actually a big misconception. It's not just avoiding the things that scare you. It's not just like avoiding working out or avoiding eating healthy or like the things where you have to change something. It's genuinely avoiding your connection with polarity, with love, with yourself or with a partner or whatever. That's what it comes down to. It goes all the way down to the root. So it's really unfortunate. 99% of people are functioning like this in our society. What I notice is like when I get on YouTube on my phone now to look at comments, it automatically pulls up shorts first. So now it's like this hook, right? They want to get you addicted immediately because short content is more addicting than a video like this. But it's all just sucking your energy dry, sucking your feminine energy dry for sure. And it's not beneficial. So, going back to the providing, being basic and desiring deeper connection. Yeah, desiring to be with a provider man is a step in the right direction. It is. And I should have said this earlier in the video. It is a step in the right direction because to me, it is a sign that you are moving more back towards your feminine roots, like your feminine energy. You're connecting deeper with it, even if you don't really logically or, spiritually know why you desire this provider man yet. To me, it is a move back in the right direction, but this is where a lot of women can be led astray or taken advantage of, is whenever they think that like that's where it stops. Like that's the highest standard being provided for, having your bills paid. That's a very easy thing to find. It's a very easy thing to find. If you cannot find men who are willing to pay for you, there's a level of feminine energy that, I don't even want to say level of feminine energy. You're just talking to the wrong people. But I know for my higher level women who are like, yeah, like, of course, I'm not going to marry a man if he does not provide. But they're not sure why. And they keep getting into, like, they roped into these conversations of like, well, what do I bring to the table? What do men bring to the table? All that sort of stuff. You are you are disrespecting yourself if you're making these lists of like who brings what to the table. That's like one of the lowest levels of conversation if we get into the space of people who even somewhat believe that men should provide. That's like the lowest level of conversation. It's not like about that. I don't know how to articulate this the best way right now, but it's not about that. The reason that the feminine desires, I don't even want to say desires here, like the reason that a relationship almost requires a man's provision for the feminine to come out and for that polarity to be there is because the feminine energy will not emerge. You've probably noticed this in yourself. I notice this with myself. If I'm triggered, if my nervous system is unregulated, if something sets me off, I'm definitely not going to be feminine. And in a relationship, when the man is providing that container of safety, whenever the masculine is providing that, and he's like, one, that signals he's aware of the value of feminine energy and that he values it and he desires that in his life. But so much more beyond that is that the men that are able to provide are the men who have leveled up their life enough to be able to provide for a woman most of the time, right? We have different levels of men, I guess you could say. And if he is a provider, the pool is more likely to hold divine masculine men who desire to connect with you and actually be present with you and have that polarity. Rather than just, it may contain men who use providing as something to manipulate women too. There's always that risk. But when you're in your divine feminine energy and you are, like, I'm talking spiritual divine feminine energy, not this bullshit that most people spout on the internet, okay? When you're truly in that, there will be absolutely you will have no problem differentiating between those men. Just like the divine masculine men who are truly connected, spiritually connected, into like self-improvement, leveling themselves up in their masculine spiritual path, they're not going to fall for the bullshit, the tactics that are taught of this feminine manipulation. I hate to even call those things masculine energy or feminine energy. It's not. So that's what's important to understand, is that if you continue to attract men who, yes, will like pay for some things, but still use you or, whatever, this is a sign to level up yourself. And when I say level yourself up, ignore, I say this to some degree. Obviously, if you are healthy and taking care of yourself and like working out and eating clean food and doing your inner work, you're likely a beautiful woman. So I just want to take the stress and pressure and like focus off of looks. Like, let's not even think about leveling up looks at this moment. That will also be a natural byproduct. Just like men trying to level up money, that's going to be a natural byproduct of him being on his self-improvement journey of restriction and discipline. That just naturally comes with it. Oh, I want to put all the videos that I have written down just into this one right now. So I'm just going to wrap it up here because I could go into this so much more. But I likely will be posting this on New Year's. So hopefully you're watching it then. But the rest of today, I will be having my Alter Ego 2024 bundle. That one's going to be on sale until tonight. I extended it for 24 hours. And then I also, throughout January, I'm going to try something a little new. I've never really done like one-on-one coaching sessions before, but I'm trying it out. And so some of those spots are already filling up, which is exciting, especially whenever you try something new. So what I'm going to do with that is that if you do book one of these sessions, the link will be below in the description. But if you do book one of these sessions anytime in January, then you have the option to roll it into, like, your investment goes towards a full call package. So that'll be like 4 calls, or you can pick 8 calls with me. And you'll just basically, I'll just take that amount off, whatever you paid for the one-on-one session, of the actual call package. And then you'll get, 3 more calls, or you'll get 7 more calls. And yeah, I think that'll be really fun. I know a lot of people have been wanting to do that, but then they're like, just wanting to try it out first. And so wanted to offer that through January, but definitely get in below, because once the spots are gone in January, I'm not going to be doing this anymore, like the upgrade into the package. And I might not even be doing the one-on-one sessions anymore after January. But hopefully, let me know how you enjoyed this video. I know that it was a bit more of a download style of video. I like to see it as more of like a feminine sort of video. I know the videos I've been making lately, yes, they've been in my feminine energy, but I've been structuring them in a more masculine way. What I'm doing now is kind of just like writing down a few bullet points of things that I know I want to say, so I don't get super off track, but leaving room for it to just come through me and to kind of like touch more on the spiritual aspects of things. And I can do that so much more easily whenever I have more room for it. So if you have a man who is providing for you and you feel like you're still not fully satisfied with that, you're like not happy, and you kind of feel selfish for that, and you're like, I'm provided for, but I just feel like I want more. And this is also a thing that happens, is like, what I'll see is a lot of women then asking for more and more material things. I'm bougie, okay, I enjoy luxury things, but what I've noticed is that if she does not realize that what she's really missing is that connection and that polarity, and there's an avoidance of love, right? Like literal love connection, like life force, sexual energy connection in the relationship. And this might not be really obvious, right? Like you still might be intimate in the relationship or something like that, but it's like a blockage. When she doesn't realize that that's there, she will become more demanding of like material things, or thinking that she needs more of them to feel more loved. And that's just going to be like a loop of dissatisfaction there. Like I of course love it too. Gift receiving, I guess, is one of my love languages. So I understand, but I could receive a million gifts, and if I didn't have the connection and that polarity there and that like masculine presence, I still would not be happy. So hopefully this was helpful. I will see you in the next video, and make sure to look in the description below, because there are definitely some time sensitive offers there. But I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.